when you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality? Who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on ENERGY STAR qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Hi, I'm John Mallison. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. On this Friday morning, it is your community segment with our guy, Victor Davis Hanson. He is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, Stanford University. He knows all about what's going on in world events, and he knows what's going on in this country. And you've got to call in today. 436 MeTV option 11. Back in just a moment. Welcome back to the program here on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Friday morning. Of course, connect with me on MeTV Fresno. We're live on Comcast at channel 187 and 43.6 if you have an antenna on your roof. And remember, if you call in, turn down the sound on your TV set. As mentioned here a couple of seconds ago, looking forward to this guest. I think he's one of the most fascinating people. One of the most fascinating people in the entire country. He is an author. He's a military historian. He's a longtime world historian. He is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, part of Stanford University, of course. He's written many books. I want to put one of those books up on the screen, and I'll tell you why he's so fascinating. This is the latest book that he's written, The Savior Generals, one of 21 books now that he has written. And the reason he is so fascinating is because he knows current events. He knows world history, history that happened from day one. He can talk to you just about any subject, whether it's politics, maybe he can talk about the movies, he can talk about pop culture, just about anything that's on your mind. And recently he talked at the Hoover Institution about war. This is 2013. We've had thousands and thousands of wars, of course, throughout our entire history. Is that right? I don't know how many. I don't think we can count exactly how many. But why in this day and age are we still having war? Here is what our guest today, Victor Davis Hanson, had to say about that.
The first question is, why are we still fighting in 2013? I guess to answer that question, some of you might want to know, when you park your Lexus next to somebody's Mercedes and he hits the door and makes a little dent that really cost you not much given your net worth, you get very angry. Still, even though you're sophisticated human beings in America. And the answer, history suggests, it's not over diamond fields or gold mines or even oil wells. The historian Thucydides said it was over honor and a sense of fear and a perceived self-interest.
Very interesting topic, war. Our guest today, live in the studio, is Victor Davis Hanson, a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, Stanford University. Your phone calls are encouraged, 436 MeTV option 11. Do not wade through the message, and remember, turn down the sound on your television set. We're back here live in just a moment.
Now, why don't you tell us the whole story right from the beginning? All right, from the beginning. This is the city, Los Angeles, California. My name's Friday. I carry a badge. Police officers.
You any idea who the other man was?
My partner's Bill Gannon.
Program?
We got just one big question.
Yeah.
When?
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Not too often we get a guest like our guest today, Victor Davis Hanson. Welcome to the program. I'm so glad to see you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, John.
It's our pleasure to have you here. Let me ask you first of all about President Obama. You know, I've read a lot of things on the internet about you and things that you've said. You know, you talked about Reagan and his legacy as the Cold War. I guess Bush II is known for the Iraq War. in your mind, can you predict the future a little bit? What do you think President Obama's legacy will be at this time?
Well, he's an iconic figure, a symbolic figure, so it's going to be, he was the first African-American president, but until the last 3 months, we were told his signature legislation was Obamacare, and that was going to be his legacy. Basically, a federal takeover 1/6 the economy, but I don't think so now that he's going to want to cite that after he's president, because after all, it was against the laws of physics. You can't give more insurance and more in-depth insurance to more people at a reduced cost. Everybody knew that, but it took the actual implementation to remind people.
So you don't think he'll cling to Obamacare as the Affordable Care Act, of course?
I don't think so. I think it'll be sort of like Iran-Contra for Reagan, or Monica for Bill Clinton, or Katrina for George Bush. It's just something that they want to go away. And the Affordable Care Act's already an abstraction. They've got rid of the employer mandate. Now they're getting rid of the insurance guidelines that you have to conform to. I think they'll get rid of the individual mandate. They may call it the Affordable Care Act, but for all practical purposes, they're dismantling it by executive fiat.
It almost seems like day by day.
Day by day, there's not much left. They're carving the flesh right off the bone.
I love your writings. I could read your stuff all day long. I don't mean to embarrass you, but I got to put something up on the screen that you wrote. It's just so fascinating. Scandals. Let's put this up. Here's what Victor Davis Hanson wrote here recently. Barack Obama's scandals with his accompanying limited hangout denials are ruining his second term. The growing IRS messes, the Associated Press monitoring, the NSA embarrassments, the Benghazi killings, the Syria bluster and back down, and of course the Obamacare fiasco and the misleading statements about it. You want to pick up on it?
Well, it's sort of like alphabet soup. We have NSA and ACA and APA and IRS. But they all have a common denominator, and that is that the president is not engaged. He's aloof, he's not paying attention to detail, and he was given a pass by the media. He was not subject to constant hourly scrutiny, and that gave him the misplaced idea that he could do pretty much what he wanted. He wouldn't be held accountable. It's an old tragic theme in Greek tragedy that arrogance creates hubris, which earns nemesis. That's what he's earned. He's earned sort of a divine retribution. And he's now suffering as so many second-term presidents have. And I don't know how he's going to get out of it without, his polls as we speak are below 40%. And when that happens in a second term, it's almost impossible to recover.
Yeah. I want to put something else up on the screen that you said about Obamacare. It's quite fascinating. And here's what you said. I'll just read it verbatim here because I love reading your stuff. As I said, when his pet businesses did not like elements of the Affordable Care Act, Obama simply exempted them. When employers objected that their mandate would unduly hamper job creation, the president simply ignored the settled law and exempted them. Now, when millions have lost their coverage, the president is said to be ready to again reinterpret settled law and no longer demand that private insurance plans conform to the ACA, Affordable Care Act statute, at least for a year. Fascinating stuff.
Well, I'm kind of worried about that, actually. I was lighthearted about it, but whatever you feel about Obamacare, it's settled law. And
so he's changing law, even though it's settled, right?
And the problem with this is, so now he's going to deal in next month on immigration. So he goes to his Republican critics and said, let's have an immigration deal. The Republicans now have no idea whether he would enforce all the elements of it or not. He could have a comprehensive immigration deal, and he could say, you know what, I'm not going to enforce the border. And he's already done that before the 2012 election and 2010. So the problem with this is if you start to overturn existing law, I think unconstitutionally so, but that remains to be seen, then you lose credibility in negotiations that you'll ever enforce it. It's like me saying I'm going to be here at 10:30, and then I decide, I'll just unilaterally I won't. Next time
you'll be here at 11:30.
Exactly. Next time you'll say to me, what would you say to me? You wouldn't trust me anymore.
Let's take a call here. You're on with Victor Davis Hanson. Your question, well, you were 436 MeTV, option 11. Remember, turn down the sound and be patient. Why is it that he's able to, I don't know if you'd call it circumventing the law? Or changing law? Or
it's because, let's be candid, there's a lot of people who are invested for two reasons. One, unlike Bill Clinton, he's not a centrist Democrat. He's a man of the left. He's a progressive
revolutionary figure, and we haven't had anybody like that since FDR. And two, as the first African American, he's an iconic figure, and people in the liberal media, the universities, the foundations, Hollywood, they're invested in what he represents. And that sort of says to them, you know, do I really want to go after him on the IRS? Do I want to really investigate Fast and Furious? Do we really care? What difference does it make in Benghazi? Because if I were to do that, then it might erode his presidency. If that would mean a discrediting of the progressive movement or of the signature achievement of having an African-American president. And you can't do that in life. You can't say, I won't follow my protocol or the law or my devotion to professionalism because of this one exemption. Once you start doing that, you lose credibility, and that's what's happened with the media and a lot of our institutions.
Is the president right now indecisive? Is he predictable? Is he weak? Is he all of those things?
He's all of those things because I think he sailed through, well, he went to Occidental and he was not a good student, and he was admitted to Columbia. He did not release his transcript. I'm not a conspiracist, but he didn't probably earn the GPA that would have got you to Harvard Law. When you got to Harvard Law, you have to publish. He was the first Harvard Law Review editor. They didn't publish anything. Then he went to University of Chicago. When you want to get tenure at University of Chicago, you have to have a book published. He published nothing and was offered tenure. And that, I could go on in the Chicago legislature and Senate, only 2 years in the U.S. Senate. Said he wasn't going to run for president. As soon as he got elected Senate, he said he began to. So in his way of thinking, I have always been able to finesse something by the power of what I represent, or he's very charismatic, or my teleprompted eloquence. And I've never been held accountable. I've never had to produce results. So now he thinks, well, what's going on? I'm Barack Obama. The seas are calming, the planet's cooling. I can do all these things, and all of a sudden they want me to perform. I've never had to do that before. So why are they angry that I didn't get the Affordable Care Act right? Or why are they angry that I don't tell them about Benghazi? And the answer is that when you allow somebody not to be held accountable, then that becomes habitual. And then they get very angry when, for the first time in their life, which is now, he's being held accountable. So he lashes out, he gets angry, he has these petulant moods he's in, and he's like the mythological Icarus that was given the waxen wings and said, don't fly too close to the sun, or Phaethon, who was given Helios's chariot, I don't think you can handle it, son. He was not experienced enough for this job, and when that lack of experience shows, he's angry. He's angry at the people who allowed him to be in the position he was without warning him, almost.
So he's angry because he's been allowed to skate the majority of his life, for the lack of a better term. And now that he's in this position, how he got here is another story. But now that he's in the seat, he's being held accountable, and it's making him angry.
But he has a legitimate complaint, because he can legitimately say to the media, you knew that I haven't changed. I'm still Barack Obama with no legislative experience, no academic record that I want to talk about, and yet you promoted me to the office. Now that I'm here, why are you suddenly asking me to do what I say and to keep my word and to have a legislative record of achievement when you never did before? And he's got a point there, but their answer would be, because now you're president of the United States and the stakes are for real.
Yeah, it's not exactly
it's not the Harvard Law Review.
No, you can't walk out. I mean, it's you've got the job.
People in his party are really very, very worried right now, because he has the ability to do to them what Richard Nixon did, or George Bush did in 2006 to the Republicans.
Yeah. Another call here. Hope this one is a good one. Good morning. You're on with Victor Davis Hanson, and your question, please. Hello, caller.
Hello, yes.
Go ahead, quickly.
Yeah, my question is, how come Obama and his wife Michelle are allowed to take separate vacations and costing the taxpayers millions of dollars for each vacation? Why are we allowing this?
Well, every president's been on vacation, but they haven't quite, in recent memory. The problem with the vacations, I don't think, is necessarily that they take an unprecedented number of people to Costa del Sol or to Vail or to Aspen or to Martha's Vineyard, but the problem is that as a man of the left, he damned the 1%, the fat cats, the corporate jet owners who hang out in Martha's Vineyard and Vail and Aspen and Costa del Sol. So the American people say, well, as a man of the people and a progressive, why didn't he go to Camp David, or why didn't he do what Laura Bush did and go to Yosemite and camp out or something? So he suffers that wage of hypocrisy.
He's being seen as an elitist?
He's an elitist who damns the elite. And he tells everybody, the 1% unduly gained influence, power, money, and I'm going to stop them, but I like to talk to them on my vacation and hang out at the beach or ski with them, or
but he wants to take their money.
He likes the lifestyle and the type of appurtenances that it gives someone.
We're talking with Victor Davis Hanson. He is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. Your phone calls 436-MeTV. Any questions about world events? World events, the events that are going on in this country as well. Call in, ask Victor Davis Hanson the question. Back in just a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Here with Victor Davis Hanson, a phone call out of the break. Good morning. You're on with our guest. Your question, please.
Hi. Do you really think that the United States is actually run by our senators, representatives, the president, and not by corporate America? And, you know, the real big guys up there with that secret handshake, you know, look you in the eye stuff. That's what I think, you know, because, I mean, look at all this stuff that's going on with Obama. I mean, that was run by the people that supposed to take care of that, got billions of dollars for it. They knew that what they were doing was wrong. They knew it, and it all went back to some corporate company that owns half of everything, that's got its hand in everything.
I don't know what, I needed a little bit more detail to address that, but if you're talking about the more than $500 million to run a website that didn't work, and you're suggesting that that had undue influence with Obama, I agree with you, but Jack Lew, who's Secretary of the Treasury, he was a Citibank employee who got $1 million bonus at Citibank. Peter Orszag, who was the Director of the Budget, now makes $5 million for Citigroup. So the funny thing about this administration is that they ran on an anti-Wall Street, anti-1% Occupy Wall Street sort of formula, and Barack Obama is the biggest recipient of Goldman Sachs cash and British Petroleum cash of any president in history. And we've had the greatest revolving door in anybody, and he's a man of the left. So maybe that confirms your suspicions that whether you're an establishment Republican or you're a populist left-wing Democrat, Wall Street seems to have influence nonetheless.
Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. I want to move on to Europe and what you said a couple of years ago. I think it was 2011 you told me, and you're talking about the a united Europe, or is it united? But you said that it seems to be dissolving at this point. There's a divide between Germany and Greece. Here's what Victor Davis Hanson had to say about the European Union.
Well, there'll always be a European Union that just won't do anything. It'll be sort of like the Masonic Lodge today in small-town America. It's going to be there, but nobody's going to really belong or do much to it. So when I read the Greek newspapers today, or I read the German newspapers, it reminds me of 1939. You got all the stereotypes that you've always had. There's sunny people down south in places like Italy and Spain and Greece, and they're lazy.
But unserious.
Yes, they're yelling, they wave their hands, they don't know how to do accounting, they take siestas, and then there's all these rigid Nordic and Germanic peoples that are working from 6 to 6 to pay for them. That hasn't changed.
It sounds like Greece.
Well, I mean, the idea is flawed. That it'd be as if Mississippi and Massachusetts were in different countries, and they shared the same currency. But there would be no federal pact or Selma, where I live, and Palo Alto would be different countries, but they would they would share the same currency.
I thought the funniest line in there was the correlation between the European Union, of course, and the Masonic Lodge. My father was a part of the Masonic Lodge.
So was mine. That's why I mentioned it. But I guess the point is that you can have an organization and it can exist in theory, but its membership can be pretty empty. And I think the EU is de facto irrelevant now, even though it won't dissolve quite dramatically.
Another call here. Good morning. You're on with Victor Davis Hanson. Your question. Hello, caller?
Is there any, hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Hurry.
Oh, is there any reason in the world that you cannot impeach this person that is posing as the President of the United States?
Is there any reason that you wouldn't want to impeach the President of the United States?
No, can we? Is there a reason?
Well, the reason is high crimes and misdemeanors. The only thing that I think that Barack Obama has done that would border on even considering impeachment is just one issue, and that is he took an oath to faithfully execute the laws. And whether it's reversal of the Chrysler creditors, which was a law, he put the union ahead of bondholders, or he granted 1.5 million people amnesty by unilaterally suspending the immigration law in 2011, or he dismantled parts of his own Obamacare, which was settled law, by just choosing not to enforce it, or he said the Defense of Marriage Act, which was settled law, he ignored. All of those are very disturbing because it suggests that he was acting contrary to the Constitution. But the problem with impeachment is that it's not just a legal act, but it's a political one. And you have to really be down to about 30%, like Richard Nixon, or to be impeached. He resigned before he was impeached. Bill Clinton had a 55% approval rating with a booming economy, and when he was impeached, it tore the country apart because people, if Obama were to get down to 30% unemployment and we keep having this approval rating, we keep having this bad economy, I could see there might be a movement.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. A couple of quick questions before we go to break again. About the euro. Is the euro going to last, do you think?
I think a euro will last, but the euro as we know it now won't. Italy, because it makes countries like Greece and Portugal and Spain uncompetitive. They don't really produce things that the world wants, and they have an expensive currency that the world can't afford. So they'd be much better to go back to the lira or the drachma and try to undercut their competition. And so I think you'll have a northern euro. Maybe you'll have a southern euro, but it won't be a euro as we know it.
Another quickie question before we go to break, and I know we're running long in this segment, but we know there's a high birth rate of Muslims in Europe, okay? Is the Muslim culture, so to speak, across the board, the biggest threat to Europe and to the United States and to the West?
Not to the United States, but to Europe for two reasons. One is they do not assimilate, intermarry, or integrate minorities into the body politic like we do. And two, they have a declining birth rate. United States demographics are about 2.0 without immigration. Europe's about 1.4. So the native European population is shrinking, so the minority population at 4.0 is rising in a way that's not true of the United States.
Another call before we go to break. Quickly, you're on with Victor Davis Hanson. Your question, please.
Yes, I'm interested in understanding why somebody who takes an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Second Amendment having been ruled on many times as being lawful for individuals to own guns and to keep and bear arms, and then somebody who's elected to that office turns around and tries to do away with that, like Feinstein, like Boxer, like Obama. So why can't they be brought up on impeachment charges for that? They're trying to overthrow that part of the Constitution. Thank you.
Well, Obama does that because he's a progressive who believes that we need to progress beyond the original intent of the Constitution. That's why he does it. And why he is not impeached is what I said in reference to the earlier caller. He has to have, I mean, it's a political act, and he has to get a majority of the Congress, and he has to be tried in the Senate. And that's not going to happen yet. If he were to go down 10 or 15 more points in the polls, and there would be continual scandal as there has been the last year, and he continually neglects settled law, then there might be a case. But you got to remember, for all our high talk about legality, it's basically politics.
Yeah, it's legal and political, like you
yes,
said.
it
It's
is.
very high stakes. Yeah, no question. Victor Davis Hanson is our guest today, a world-renowned historian and author and syndicated columnist. Back with your phone calls in a moment.
1 Adam 12.
This is Adam 12. It stars Martin Milner as Officer Pete Malloy, Kent McCord as Officer Jim Reed.
1 Adam 12, roger.
This black and white patrol car has an overhead valve V8 engine. It develops 325 horsepower at 4,800 RPMs. It accelerates from 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. It has a top speed of 120 miles an hour. The automobile has 2 shotgun racks, one attached to the bottom portion of the front seat, one in the vehicle trunk.
You want me to drive?
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Back here on the show, we only have about 4 or 5 minutes left here. I want to go to a full screen again here and talk about this. It's called Global Order. The Obama administration apparently has tired of the global order that American power created. The president seems determined that America should become unexceptional. Yes, unexceptional, and his 5-year-long efforts are now bearing fruit. The result is that no one knows where global violence will break out next, much less who will stop it. We got a phone call. I'll have you comment on this on the other side of this call. Good morning. You're on with Victor Davis Hanson. What's your question, quickly?
Just one quick question. With all the knowledge he has and everything that he knows, which I'm pretty sure is a lot, how does he not just throw his hands up as this with the whole human race?
Because we're living in the most blessed, materially prosperous, and free time in the history of civilization. You today will not die of a simple infection. You can see things due to glasses. You have relative safety. And the poorest person in America is wealthier than the 1% just 100 years ago. Somebody today in Fresno with an iPhone has more computing power in their palm than Bill Gates did 20 years ago. A Kia today is a much better car than a Mercedes was 30 years ago. So life is good. And we should appreciate that we have all these problems, but compared to what our ancestors had to put up with, we're very fortunate.
Thank you for the call. Quickly, can you comment on what you wrote here about global order and how America is becoming unexceptional?
Well, Barack Obama came into office. The world didn't start in 2009. He was part of a post-war order since 1945 that for 65 years had kept the world pretty safe, defeated communism, created the international system of trade, etc. And it was all predicated on the United States stopping people like Milosevic or Saddam or Noriega and standing up to people like the Soviet Union, in the Soviet Union. If you don't want to play that role, if you don't want to tell Japan and South Korea and Taiwan, we're going to protect you from Chinese aggression, or Europe, or from radical Islam, or you keep people out of South America that might want to harm it, it's okay. It's a lot cheaper not to do it in the short term, but you should realize that historically other people are going to step in, like Vladimir Putin in the Middle East.
Yes, with the Syria situation.
And that's happening everywhere we speak.
And are we weaker because of that? Because
because if I was a Japanese statesman or a South Korean statesman, I would get nuclear weapons now, because I don't count on the United States to protect me from Chinese aggression.
Should we negotiate with Iran?
We can negotiate with anybody as long as we understand what we want and the mechanisms by which we want to attain that. With Iran wants a bomb, they're going to do everything to get it.
But should we be talking to them, or should we have sanctions?
Well, I think we can tell them you're not going to get a bomb, and step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are going to ensue if you try. But it doesn't do any good to let them exceed that mandate and then keep talking to them.
We got about 2 minutes left. NSA leaker Edward Snowden, what do you make of this? Is the administration using a little bit of a double standard? Because they've had all sorts of leaks, like the leak with when they got bin Laden.
Yeah, well, they leaked the bin Laden raid, they leaked the Stuxnet virus, they leaked the drone protocols. They leaked things for political purposes to people like David Ignatius at the New York Times. So, yeah, that is a double standard. The only problem that I have is that I don't really care whether the Obama administration has a double standard, but each person takes an oath, even a contractor, that this is privileged information. So there were other ways to address the abuses of the NSA other than going to Russia and pouring out his guts to Vladimir Putin.
One other thing real quick, under President Obama, I read on the internet that more people have been charged under the Espionage Act than ever before, only 10 in history, 7 under this administration.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he feels that he can do whatever he wants, and he's immune from audit. Guantanamo, I'm going to close it. No, it's open. Drones. He's killed over 4,000 people with drones versus 250 under Bush. But people in Fresno, people in California, if I were to say that renditions, military tribunals, drones, he's vastly exceeded the Bush-Cheney anti-terrorism protocol, they would say, well, Barbara Streisand would have said something, or Michael Moore, or Cindy Sheehan, or Dianne Feinstein. Why didn't they say something? And the reason they didn't is they're invested in the symbolism of Barack Obama.
Victor Davis Hanson, I'm so sorry to say we're out of time. Will you come back again?
Yeah, I will.
We'd love to have you.
Thank you.
We really enjoyed the conversation. Fascinating writing. I'm going to keep reading your stuff. Great stuff. Victor Davis Hanson, glad to have him along here today on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. And we're going to be back Monday with another edition of Connect with Me. Have a great weekend. See you then.